salt kit items and pubic combing sections, did you find DNA characteristic from males that, well, let me ask it that way. How many did you find DNA characteristics on either the sexual assault or the pubic combings?
How many specific evidence items?
Yes.
Do we find male characteristics? Well, I'll have to try to jog my memory here. I know we had the panties, and there were multiple stains on the panties. The rectal swab, there were male characteristics on. The vaginal swab, I believe we found male characteristics on. And I can thumb through here and try to find a list, unless you have one.
No, that's okay.
All right.
So there were a number of items from the sexual assault and from the pubic combings where you found male DNA on those items.
Yes.
And did any of that male DNA from any of the pubic combings or the sexual assault kit match any of the players' profiles that you had been provided?
Not from the pubic combings and sexual assault kit. There were no matches to those.
How would you characterize the sensitivity or sophistication of the DNA equipment that you have at DSI Security in terms of its ability to pick up DNA of small size, for example?
Small size, okay. It's kind of hard to characterize because people aren't accustomed to thinking in the size that we work at. The best analogy to that I come with, because most people are familiar with, is if you think about a piece of dander, and everybody sees that dander that when you're on your keyboard, you know, that you look down there and there's that little tiny piece of white dander, and if it's my keyboard, there's lots and lots of it. Well, about 1/10 of that little tiny piece of dander would give us more than enough DNA to produce nice profiles. So we're really talking about multiple cells.
And in your testing of the sexual assault kit items and the pubic combings, did you find any DNA that matched any of the lacrosse player specimens that you were checking?
He's asked that about 5 times. That has been answered. Right.
No, we didn't find any. Oh, okay.
That was bang.
And were the results of that communicated to Mr. Nifong at this April 10th and the April 21st meeting?
Yes, they were.
During that April 21st meeting, in addition to the match on the fingernail with Mr. that you believe might or did match Mr. Evans, do you know if there were any other discussions about potential matches between evidence items and players?
Right now, I don't remember if we identified. I know that eventually we identified a match between the boyfriend and the one of the evidence items, but right now it's all a big mush up here, and I don't remember when that was.
Okay. But at that April 21st meeting, you did discuss at least one match between an evidence item and a player, in addition to the unidentified male DNA that you were just testifying about.
Yes. We spent a lot of time talking about the match between the one reference item and the mixture profile.
And at that second meeting on April 21st, was there any discussion about a report being prepared?
Yes. Yes, there was. That came up at that meeting as when we might need to produce a report.
And did Mr. Nifong make any indication of whether he wanted a written report?
Yes. At that meeting, he was interested in having a report that would show the matches, because that was the whole point. And it's the point of all the testing we do. So he said that he would need a report that showed that match, all the matches we had up to that point, for a court proceeding. I don't know what the proceeding was, but there was something in the preparation of his case where he needed to have a report of what we found up to that point. And we told him that we would be glad to do that. And he said that he would let us know when he would need it, but he would probably need it shortly, because he he could foresee that this proceeding was coming.
Okay. Let me take a step back. Was it clear from your discussions with Mr. Nifong what he was requesting in terms of report?
Yes, it was.
And what was clear to you that he was requesting?
Well, it was clear that it was for whatever the proceeding was, it was important that he had a report that illustrated the match that we had identified, as well as any other matches. And it was also clear to me at that time that there would be additional work that we would need to do on this case, that there were other suspects that would be coming in, and that a final report would come down the road.
When you say suspects, do you know whether that's suspects in terms of players or other specimens that might be coming in?
When I say suspects, I mean suspects whether or not they're players. What I really meant, I guess, to say was reference specimens. They may not have been suspects, but they were reference specimens to come in, although I do believe we received suspects after that date.
Was it, or is it unusual for clients to inquire verbally about the matches and DNA?
No, not at all. It's very common. We get a case, and the investigator or the prosecutor, they're anxious to know what the results are, and they'll call, and we'll let them know, or we'll call them and let them know. So no, that's not an unusual request to get a status on the case at all.
Had you ever been requested by any other client to produce a written report with the matches?
No. This was the first time we'd been asked, while the case was ongoing, to produce a written report. It's not unheard of in the industry, but it's not a usual thing, and it's the first time that we were asked for such a report.
And
Let me ask you about that question, that answer. Was it unusual that you were asked for a report, or that you were asked for a report with only matches?
It was, and I'll rephrase that. It was uncommon. We had to be asked for a report while the case was ongoing.
As to report in general?
For a report in general.
Okay.
Right.
Okay. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Mr. Brown.
had you ever done that type of written report for any other client besides Mr. Nifong?
No, that's the first interim report that we've produced.
And did Mr. Nifong indicate whether he wanted that written report right away?
He told us it would be needed shortly. He said we didn't have to, produce it immediately. We told him we could have it at any time, and he said that he would call us when he would need it.
And did he do that at a later point in time?
Yes, he did.
And what was the general timing? Well, what did Mr. Nifong say when he called back up to request the report specifically?
Again, I don't recall the specific. I can't quote anything in the conversation, but it was a simple conversation, as I recall, just that he would need the report on this date, and would that be okay? Could I prepare it by that time? And he would come in and pick it up. And of course, I said, sure.
Okay. And what was the general timing of that phone conversation where he requested it and when the report was actually provided?
It was probably a day or two. It was probably, I don't have a record of the telephone dates, but he probably called on one day and came in to get it either the next day or the day after.